Well, you've heard it said, and so have I. I'll get to such and such a thing when I'm good and ready. Well, most often, it's a verbal line in the sand. A somewhat more gentle form of don't push me, if you will. But not always. Before we get to that, welcome to Mornings with Bishop Robert, where I'm always ready to have you join me in my study. My goal is to introduce people to the Jesus that they never knew and help them get to know him and his word personally and better. So if our time together today speaks to your heart, then let me invite you to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. But for right now, grab your cup, lift it up, and let's begin today's lesson. You know, when the renowned English poet Elizabeth Barrett married Robert Browning, her wedding had to take place in secret because of her father's disapproval since she was a semi-invalid. Well, the new couple left England and moved to Italy, where they remained for the rest of their lives. But the well-known writer of love poems, which were all adored across the globe, would not give up on the relationship. Each and every week, she wrote letters to the parents who had disavowed her, pouring out her heart, seeking to restore the estranged relationship. Never did Elizabeth Barrett Browning receive a reply from her father or mother. After 10 years, she received a large box in the mail. And inside, Elizabeth found all of the letters that had been sent over the course of a decade. Letters filled with love. Not one had been opened. Perhaps the father had said that he had read them when he was good and ready, but died before that time came. Had her parents only read a few of them, their relationship with Elizabeth could have been restored. Today's verse says, "For you, Lord, are good and ready to forgive." Good and ready. You know, that's the operative term. In all the times you've heard it before, perhaps you've never known that it's found in the book of Psalms. As crushed and broken as Elizabeth Barrett Browning ever was, King David knew that his hard heart and poor choices had inserted a gulf between him and God. Now, we'll never know what Elizabeth wrote to her father, but David's heart is on full display. "Hear me, O Lord, and answer me. You are my God. Have mercy on me. Restore the joy of your servant, Lord. For I put my trust in you. For you, Lord, are good and ready to forgive." On and on, David's heart poured itself out on the pages, turning to the God whom he knew to be filled with compassion. David knew that the only one who could change his heart and make him good was the one who was himself the source of all goodness. "Teach me your ways, O Lord," he continued. We need God to teach us because his ways are so far above ours that we cannot learn or discern them on our own. But since he is ready to forgive and abundant in his loving kindness to all who do call on his name, God's ears turn to this sort of prayer. God heard David when he asked. God will also hear you and I when we do. Because this request isn't made only by people who never knew God. Sadly, even the ones who love him and desire to walk with him, we fail. We fall. We need the relationship restored. "Grant me an undivided heart," said David. He was tired of wanting things that God didn't. David was begging God to make his heart good so that David would desire what God did. That goodness results in closeness. And when we get close to God, the only response that fills our hearts is praise. It bursts forth from our hearts, through our lips and our hands and our feet and our arms, songs of praise, shouts of joy, expressions of gladness and worship. God and his people delight in their praises. It fills us with joy, peace, and strength. The power of God comes from our praises of his love for us, from our closeness to him. And we need to come to him regularly and stay close to him. You know, I have an electric shaver. It has a rechargeable battery so it can be used when it's unplugged. But it gets slower and slower and slower over time. It still cuts my beard, but not the way it was meant to. And sooner or later, it stops. The battery's dead. But once I plug it in, wow, it immediately steps up the revs and cuts whiskers like new. Unplugged, it can do a somewhat passable job. But plugged in, the difference is amazing. Hey, I'll be honest, if you don't know Jesus, you can get along in everyday life without ever acknowledging him. You could be an atheist and still get along fairly well. I mean, before I knew Jesus Christ, I thought I was fine. But that's because I didn't know any better. I was like the unplugged shaver. I could never really do what I'd been designed to do. Never fulfill my potential. Never accomplish the plan of God for my life. There are lots of people who are getting by, but they don't realize they're not plugged into the power source. And sooner or later, their batteries die too. To be truly good, to operate with the power you were designed to live in, you have to plug into the power source. You've got to be connected to God himself through Jesus Christ. There you have it. God is both good and ready. His love for you is abundant. His desire to forgive and have your relationship with him restored is there. He offers you new hope, new life, new grace, new love, new goodness. God is good and ready. Question is, are you ready to be good? Hey, as we wrap up, can I ask you to help me share the power of knowing Jesus? Please help me introduce them to the Jesus they never knew, and help get them to know him and his word personally and better. And please like this video to help more people see it. And then click follow or subscribe so that you and I can get together every day. I got to tell you, I really love reading your comments and your questions. And one more thing. Share this with a friend, would you please? Because as you do, you're part of the team, touching hearts all over the world with the love of Jesus. Thanks for helping.